Welcome back, everyone. Kevin Shea, and I am joined with Jim Wilson, the high school sports editor from the Telegram and Gazette and Home Team Magazine. And really a lot to talk about this week. As always, we can look back at some big games, look ahead to some big games coming up as well. Let's look back first. Leominster and St. PeterMarian. Leominster continuing their undefeated run. They beat a very good St. PeterMarian team a week ago.
Exactly. I mean, that's what you kind of thought would be both, because they lost the game, but St. PeterMarian is going to be just fine. It's actually a great loss for them because they competed with them. They didn't get blown out. They played with them till the end. Larry continued to get better every week, show he's healthy. That's a great test for them. Leominster just took care of business. It was a game they had to win because, you don't want to go into, especially with Division II, we'll get to that later, just being a toss-up right now. Division II is all, there's not one gorilla in Division II to sort of you got to worry about, because every team, as last week showed, a lot of upsets, not really upsets, but I mean teams are starting to get shaken out right now to see who's contending. Frank's
hurt in that game, in that Leominster game. This would be a big loss for the Blue Devils. We'll have to see how serious that injury is. St. PeterMarian showing, though, that they can move the ball on the ground and in the air. They're not a one-dimensional team.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, with that's just one of those teams, like everybody thinks O'Leary's going to come in and just really do damage, because all preseason he was talking about how his weapons have increased. His receivers are on the same page. They've been working against since early July. He's showing that, but they haven't had to have that air attack to win a game yet. They get some great running backs, and I think that's they a huge line. Yes. It's one of the most underrated things about them. Similar to how Northbridge, nobody talks about their defense, the line on St. PeterMarian is overshadowed because they have so many other weapons in other places.
No, you're right. Leary and Baldino and everyone, the skill guys get all the publicity, but that line is what drives the engine for St. PeterMarian. Nashoba beating Wachusett on the road. This Nashoba team is for real. They're very good. We talked about them last week. They've looked outstanding each and every week, especially maybe a slow start week 1, but week 2 beating Shrewsbury. Then that was on the road. And then they beat Wachusett last night. Wachusett coming off a big victory over Fitchburg. This Nashoba team showing a lot of speed in that game against Wachusett. That's what the difference in this game was, Nashoba's speed. Too much for the Mountaineers.
Exactly. Another underrated aspect, Nashoba's line is another big asset to that team. They said the team speed. Wachusett didn't have an answer. This was Nashoba's coming out party, sort of show they belong. I mean, especially after we went on this big rant about Wachusett last weekend, and that's when it happens. And next thing you know, Nashoba comes in and just knocks them down. Looks really good in doing it. Nashoba, the win over Algonquin was one of those. It wasn't an impressive win. You kind of think, opening week you want to see them a little bit more there. They beat Shrewsbury, but they didn't have that signature win yet. That last week was. Beating Wachusett the way they did, like you said, just rushing past them, dominating the line of scrimmage. That was a big eye-opening win. They got Shepherd Hill coming up. That's going to be another big test for them.
Yeah, it's going to be a huge test, and we'll get into Wachusett, too, coming up and who they're playing this week. One thing about that game that opened some eyes, Wachusett has a passing attack. They don't, Mike Dubzinski doesn't like to throw the football. As one source close to the family told me, they may have thrown more in that time than any Dubzinski coach team has thrown in an entire season. But with Ryan McCarthy out there, with Zotterly out there, they have weapons. With McCarthy, I love the fade. Send it right down the sideline, hang it high, let McCarthy go up one-on-one, and more often than not, he's either going to draw the flag for pass interference or he's going to haul it in himself. Had a great touchdown catch in that game where he just out-leaped and out-fought the defender.
Exactly, and that's what they need. They know it's a matchup thing. I think they're more like you look at a team like the Patriots in the NFL. So what does it take for us to win this game? And obviously they thought going to the passing attack last week. And then, just to make up for lost time, he might run the ball 100 times this week.
Right, and that's the thing. And he'll wait for okay, do we have 4 or 5 guys dropping back? Are they dropping into a shell? Good, perfect. We're going to run the wing.
It's like the blood moon. He wants to. Now it's time to pass. It's the last time you're going to see it for years now.
That's it. Not since 1982, and you won't see it again for another 35 years. Northbridge and Auburn, you talk about a statement win. Northbridge, we've talked about their defense, a shutout. The offense putting up 51 points. 3 shutouts, but shutting out an Auburn team that, this is a team that went to overtime with Doherty, was up 14-0 at the half at Doherty week 1, and they rolled up 51 points on an Auburn team that has always had a really stingy defense. And I saw them against Doherty. They're a fast team, Auburn. They hit hard. They're a physical team. This is a win that I think you look at this now and say, okay, you know what? Northbridge can play with anyone in Central Mass.
Saturday morning, I was in CVS trying to buy Sully a card. I had with 51 points. He's just wandering around aimless like a homeless person in Auburn. He has no idea. I mean, he's never had that. Auburn is a very prideful team, just based on their history. I know after the game, there's a lot of back and forth, count the rings type of thing. Because Auburn, they know they get handled. It's not often they get bullied.
No.
But I think that's how good Northbridge is. Like we said all the time, Northbridge's defense is lights out. If they didn't have such a Madden offense, we're just putting up points like crazy. a lot more people will say, look, they haven't allowed a point all year. It's 3 straight shutouts against a pretty good schedule.
Yes.
So they have that coming up. I know they have Grafton this week, another tough test for them. But if they can stop O'Brien, and I think they have the personnel on defense, so not let him get his carries, but not like a back-breaking type of workload for him. They should have. They're looking to get another win this week.
And that's the thing too. And we'll look at one more game from last week, and then we'll look ahead with that Northbridge and Grafton, especially. I'm
a forward thinker.
Grafton, you're always moving forward. Was that Winston Churchill? Always moving forward, never retreat. So then you look at this Grafton Northbridge game. Defensively, what does Grafton do to try to slow down? Because you can't stop Northbridge's offense. The only thing you can hope to do is put a parachute around them and slow them down.
Right.
You know, the best you can do right now, looking at what Northbridge has done the first 3 weeks of the season, is hold them to like 24 points, 28 points. That's a moral victory. So are you going to be able to score 31 against Northbridge? That's the only way I see a team beating them is a team's got to score in the 30s, and they got to hold them to the 20s, and that's holding them. But how do you do that? Because we've said it before, they can send 4 guys vertical, and, you know, like Melifanu is a very good defensive back. Now he can only cover 1 guy. So now you get 4 guys going vertical. Their backs are to the line of scrimmage trying to cover. Kobe Schofer takes off. He's 25 yards down the field before anyone even knows he's got the ball tucked under his arm. Then how are you going to stop him? How are you going to tackle him? He's a stronger, faster Kobe Schofer, if there was a faster Kobe Schofer from last year. It's just, they're incredible to try to stop. How do you stop that team?
It's one thing looking at your huddle and trying to see, how you look at what Schofer does and try to stop him. Because, like I said, easy said and done. You get a scout team kid on, trying to ghost him for the practice all week. Then you see the real thing on a Friday night. It's a different story altogether. Yeah. And then they say, like I said, put a parachute on him. It tends a lot to that team when teams are trying to play for him for moral victories.
Right.
It's we only allowed 24 points. That's less. That just shows how good their offense is. Because then if you do it, you slow down Schofer. He's got Jake Wood, he's got Chandler Brooks, and they can do some damage on their own. I mean, any other team, they'd be the focus. We've talked about them all the time. Schofer's a special kid.
And the thing is, too, now if you put a spy on Schofer, so you put either a linebacker or you take a linebacker out, bring another safety in, and you have them spy on Schofer, now you're taking someone else out of coverage or out of the rush. You're going to give him more time. Now you got 1 or 2 guys that have one-on-one coverage. Right. And if he has time, not even if he has time, these guys, like you mentioned, Brooks, they can get, these guys, Jake Wood, they can get open real quickly and real easily. They can get behind someone. And so now you got the spy, pick your poison. He dumps it over the top. You got an 80-yard touchdown. And you're scratching your head going, okay, well, what do we do now?
It's Kenny LaChapelle. He's prepared for a spy. He's begging you to spy him.
Yes, that's exactly right. One more game that we look back at, and then we'll go forward for the rest of the show. Shrewsbury and Shepherd Hill. This was a huge win for the Colonials. I mean, they're a team that started off a lot of, some tough losses against good teams, but real tough losses. A huge win against a team that you and I both had ranked really high up there in Central Mass and had a lot of respect for and still have a lot of respect for.
Oh, yeah.
But right now, we're tipping our hat to Shrewsbury saying you just beat one heck of a football team.
I'm not like some people who dumped him out of the poll after this one loss. I think
that's clearly people that don't know the game. You know what I mean? Come on. Go back to...
You're lucky you don't use Twitter. He'd be all over you for that.
You're watching lawn darts. You're watching some other sport because you're not watching high school football. If you dump Shepherd Hill out, they should still be a top 5 team
they're up
in my estimation.
But I can see the point because they're 0-3, but they played 3 Division II teams. That's how good Shepherd Hill is. People look at that and say they're 0-3, but they're still a Division IV team.
Right.
They're still, but they're playing, and their whole schedule is pretty much because they're in the Midwatch A. They're still playing a lot of Division II teams. The whole bulk of the schedule. The problem is now they're 0-3. They're going to make the playoffs.
I know.
They need wins, and we'll get into this later with a team. It's just like this is a good Week 4 type of must-win games because if Shepherd Hill, their schedule being as it is, they can't chase wins. They can't hope I'm sure they were thinking Week 1 and 2, they were very competitive. I think both games were about 10. One was 11-point loss to St. John's, 10-point loss to Leominster. Very competitive for what they wanted to do. I'm sure that's exactly what they were hoping to going into Week 3. Be competitive. Everybody's healthy. Got great tests. So all of a sudden now when they're in week, the first round of Division IV playoffs, they've seen teams 20 times better than on that Friday night in Week 1 and 2.
Right. Unfortunately,
Shrewsbury came in and ruined the party because I think, and I don't want to say they're too well coached between Dugan and Lindstrom and all those guys to say we overlooked these guys.
Right.
But Shrewsbury came out and just smacked them in the mouth, and I don't think I think they're hoping for a win to start the train rolling.
Yep.
They had other plans.
Yeah, they ambushed him. Shrewsbury came in. They absolutely ambushed him after 2, as you mentioned, 2 really tough games against St. John's and Leominster, and both games on the road as well. So now, this week, Shepherd Hill has Nashoba. Nashoba's a team that's riding in undefeated, high in the saddle. They've beaten a lot of really good teams and you and I talked about, this is a hungry team. This is a team that I think can play that we don't get a lot of respect card to. They can play that Rodney Dangerfield card that, you know, no one talks about us, and no one looks at us because, as we've mentioned, maybe they're not the marquee name like a St. John's or a Leominster, but boy, do they have a lot of good players. And what gets me more than anything about Nashoba, team defense. It's not one or two guys. It's 11 hats to the football. They're real fast. They get penetration up front. Their contain unit comes up strong on the run, but they cover the pass real well, and the linebackers can play whatever you want to play. Sideline to sideline, they can drop in coverage, and they can come up and stuff the run, and that's what they showed against a real tough Wachusett team.
Exactly. And Nashoba is almost like we were talking about Wachusett last week. They don't have that one star like the Zach Humes back when they were winning Super Bowls. They don't have that one or two stud players that can say, okay, go out and win us this game, which is a credit to their, like you said, the team defense. Everybody, a different hero each week. Everybody wants to swarm. And Jake Benjamin's doing a great job in the running game for them, carrying the ball a lot, getting his touches. But like I said, I think with against Shepherd Hill, I think their lines match up pretty well, and so I think that will be a good fight in the trenches. Their defense, it's gonna be a great see. I can't wait to see this game all of a sudden.
And you know, we're looking at Wachusett and Leominster. Now, this is Wachusett looking to bounce back. Leominster, as we mentioned, Leominster looking to keep that train rolling if they don't have Franks, a standout wide receiver and defensive back for Leominster, and a big part of their offense. He's your number one receiver. He's the one that the quarterback's looking to first, second, and third option just because of how good he is, and then defensively what he can do. Now, if you're Leominster, you're looking at what Wachusett did throwing to Ryan McCarthy. And I think defensively they would say, okay, we'll put Franks on McCarthy. It's a good matchup. They're both around the same size. They're both basketball players that can both. It's a good battle. Without Franks in the defensive secondary, if he's out, now that opens a lot more up for McCarthy.
I was talking to somebody else about the same thing. I think they're obviously losing one of the best wide receivers in Central Mass. If he's out for a significant amount of time, is an issue. But I think on defense, it probably hurts them more. They're going to need people to step up. I don't know if it's Keith or Kyle Jackson, Anthony Dandini. They need guys to come up and just sort of take that pressure off that side of the defense that they're going to lose. Because you're right, they're going to exploit it. They're going to try the running gun Wachusett Mountaineers.
Yes, exactly.
Take advantage of that.
The wide open Oregon spread offense, the blur offense they're running up there on the mountaintop. Doherty, St. Peter-Marian, always a game I look forward to. It's our game of the week this week because of the rivalry. This, to me, is old school Miami Notre Dame. Teams are going to come together right out of the tunnel. There's going to be some pushing and shoving. A lot of smack talk in this game before the game, in warm-ups, during the game, after the game. This is where a lot of these kids, a lot of these players on both sides grew up in the same neighborhood. They were best friends in high school, Pop Warner, and now they're enemies, and it brings out a big intensity.
Big pride game. I mean, I think PeterMarian coming off that loss, they want to show that was just a blip on their radar. They know not only just for power ranking points, but they just want pride. They want to handle Doherty coming in at 3-0. Coming off a game against South, they took their foot off the gas probably in the second quarter in that one. So I think, Doherty also knows they beat St. Peter-Marian, they're for real. That overtime win against Auburn all of a sudden doesn't look as good after that Northbridge game. So I think they want to come in and get their signature win as well.
And this would be really a King of the City win as well. So this is, Doherty's coming in saying, okay, we're the top dog in the inner high. This is for the King of the City right now. Who's the top dog in the city of Worcester? And this one's going to be settled on the field. I'm looking forward to it.
It should be a great one. I think, like I said, both teams have a lot to prove in this one.
All right, we got about 30 seconds. Shrewsbury and Fitchburg. This is a game you and I were talking about as one of those must-win games. Because of the new season, it's only 8 games in the regular season and playoffs, and only the top 4 make it. Last year, it was 8 teams that made it. Fitchburg squeaked in. This year, different story. They got to win this week.
Yeah, Fitchburg started off 0-4 last year and made the playoffs with an 8-team bracket. They're not going to have that luxury this year. They're 0-3. They have 1 offensive touchdown. They need to fix some things fast. A win this weekend's must, or else they're going to be, just looking at the non-playoff games going forward.
Interesting with only 4 teams, top 4 teams making it in each division. All right, we're out of time, Willie. Great job as always.
Flies by.
We will see you next week. More of the Frenzy Extra coming up right after this.